to episode 63 of TerrorVision horror podcast, Splatter Chatter. I'm one of your hosts, Jennifer Strand, and joining me is our very own limb collector, Dan McGuinness.
What up?
Oop. Splatter Chatter is a new fortnightly installation to the TerrorVision programming where we talk about what's new or what, more than likely, what's caught our attention in the world of horror, including video games, comics, movies, collectibles, and so on.
But mostly we just talk about a topic.
Exactly. We'll get to that. I'd just like to thank all our listeners who support us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and the YouTubes. We love you. Now, I see that I've not actually written any names to thank, so...
Yeah, they're on the other list.
I don't have my other list open.
We would like to thank people like Patrick Roberts, Dion Cracknell, Neville Pierce, Simone Stewart, Dave's Video Graveyard, Melinda Nankiville, Simon Zwartz, Kevin Patterson, and Floppy. Those are the people that just kind of couple of people interacted with us over the fortnight.
Brilliant. Thank you for being on the ball. Now, as we record this, because we record a couple of episodes in advance, we've just come out of a 7-day South Australian lockdown.
That was actually a week ago.
Yeah. So let's talk about, for our fun facts, what did we do during lockdown?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Well, I have recently got hard back into skateboarding, and so I just wanted to skateboard, and I couldn't. Because there was the rule that you couldn't travel more than 2.5 k's away from your house, and I'm like, my skateboard park is like, 2.3 k's away, so I just like abided the rules. I like doing the rules.
Well, you got to. You have to do the rules.
So I couldn't skate, so I just sat there thinking about skating. So I did a lot of fingerboarding over that time.
Sure.
And then I ticked one thing off my list. I started One Piece.
Oh my God.
I got 97 episodes in 2 weeks.
And
in a week.
I don't want to ask, how many episodes are there of One Piece?
There are 800.
That's too many episodes of One Piece.
But it's one of the good ones that they say there's only it's a good one because there's only 100 episodes of filler. Which isn't much out of 800. Considering Naruto had 400 episodes out of... No, it wasn't 400. It was at least 200 or 300. It was shitloads out of the whole lot. So
anime, yes. Very good. So you watched a lot of One Piece?
And I worked on my shed, making my rumpus room.
Oh, it's looking very good.
Thank you.
I'm very, very excited.
We'll be moving all our equipment into there.
Yes.
And so we'll be recording from the rumpus at some stage when it's finished.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'm not used to having downtime, so it was kind of hard for me.
To relax?
It was hard to relax, and I'm a big creature of routine as well, so I pretty much just determined that I needed routine. So I'd still get up in the morning, I'd do my work stuff, answer emails, blah, 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 blah. Then I'd go do laps around our oval because we live just next to a school. School's
Getting
not
ready
open.
for footy season?
Yeah, I'm ready for footy season.
Sick.
So did that, and I made a lot of really good food. So I made some shredded chicken in the slow cooker with some sarsaparilla and barbecue sauce. It was delicious.
Did you put that in it or did you make it with it?
So what I do...
You put sarsaparilla in the food?
I do. So get your pen and paper ready, guys. No. So what I did was a can of sarsaparilla in about 1 kilo of chicken, let that slow cook on low for about 5 hours, drain the sarsaparilla out, and then you put in your barbecue sauce. I had a nice Tennessee honey. Chuck that in, slow cook for another hour and a half, shred it up, burgers. You got some pretty good food, my friends. And then I just watched a butt ton of films. So many films.
One a day? At least?
At least. I made Liz, and she did not sleep well that night. I made her watch The Conjuring, all 3 of the Conjuring films in one sitting.
But she's the same as me. She's usually afraid of greys, not ghosts.
She doesn't like ghost films.
Oh. Does she like Hereditary?
She hasn't watched Hereditary.
Oh, dear.
So, yes. That's what I did. I had to keep my routine up, and then I watched a bunch of films. It was great. So we're just going to jump straight into our topic of the week. So each week, Dan and I let the TerrorVision Ouija board just decide our topic. I can't speak today. Decide our topic of discussion. And this week, our topic of discussion is gateway horror.
That's what the Ouija board told us to talk about.
It is. They told us. So remember, there are no right or wrong answers. It's an opportunity for us to discuss more about what we as horror fans like or dislike, and let you, the listener, get to know us a little bit more through our shared interests and whatnot.
What the fuck is gateway horror?
Okay, so gateway horror can be best defined as the movies you show or were introduced to you would introduce a newcomer to the genre. So whether it's your partner who hates horror movie or your kid who is asking like, oh, I want to watch a scary movie.
I took it in as like, the stuff that was the gateway horror for me as a little kid.
Which is fair because...
so the stuff I watched which piqued my interest in the horror genre kind of thing.
Very much so.
Or was like the best I could get at that age.
If you've got this weird like interest but you have no idea where to get it, you're going to try and find it.
It seems so mystical.
Very much so. So I see that the first thing in your notes is looking at the covers in the video shops.
Yeah, so that was one of my first things that got me into horror films, which is weirdly enough, my gateway into horror films was not watching them, was studying their video covers in the old video shop. I used to go down every weekday after school to the local video shop. It was on my home. And just go to the horror section and just sit there and look at every cover, pick up every video, look at the cover, look at the screenshots on the back, because that's as close as I could get to these horror films.
Yeah.
And like, imagine what these films were going to be like when I got to see them. All these mystical monsters and gore. And I suppose as well, in the same as that, it's like Fangoria magazines.
Yeah.
My friend's brother's Fangoria magazines, because we couldn't buy them because they were rated R magazines. And just like getting one and being like, me and my mate being too scared to like turn each page, but being so into it. Like,
but that's the thing. And I think that's like a huge topic of conversation for most people. Cause like I am in a very similar boat sitting here having this conversation is like, I would sit there and I'd be at the video shop and I'd be like, oh, what is that? What is that person doing to that person? Like, and you'd pick up, a copy of Cannibal Holocaust or something and you're like, Mum, can I rent this? No. Well, now I need to know what this is about. Like, I want to know what this gore is. Like, why is this so red? Why is this that? And you've got that that
intrigue, that like mystery, that fucking carrot dangled in front of your dick that you can't get into. Like, and that's where I think a lot of the horror people are really into horror movie covers.
Yeah.
So you get like that those ones that clearly the movie was shit, but the covers are remembered forever.
Well, they make the cover,
like
and then you kind of got to make the film to match the cover, and it never happens that way.
Or like ones like The Deadly Spawn is a classic cover with the gross teeth on the front. The fucking movie's pretty shit. Extro is like one of those ones I always wanted to see. And there's because we get over here, there's UK covers, there's American covers, and I think we usually got the UK covers.
Very much so. It's PAL related.
PAL, yeah. And so, the cover of Extra was like the monster, the alien, like with its tongue lashing out. It looked really real on the cover. It looked like a photograph.
Yeah.
And I was always like, oh, fuck. And Extra's Extra's pretty good. But there was a whole bunch of them where that movie never lived up to the cover. Like stuff like Chopping Mall.
I love Chopping Mall. But no, you are correct. Chopping Mall, the cover versus the film
is nothing.
Two very different films.
Yeah. There's so many covers that just totally throw you off. We could do a whole episode on covers, which we will later.
We should do that. Oh my god, yes. Oh, I like that.
But then there was always like the roadshow videos that didn't have any pictures on the back, and I hated them.
Yeah.
Like when I picked up a cover and I went, "That's sick. What's on the back?" And it was just text, or it was just like ads, or the ones that just showed you two other covers from other films. I was like, "Bullshit."
Yep.
You motherfuckers.
I have been ripped off of something that I'm not paying for.
Yeah. What?
I hate you so much.
My eyes deserved more than this. You motherfucker. I have like such strong emotions about my video shop, like from growing up. Like it was so important to me. Cutouts, remember those?
Yes.
Is that what you called them? We just called them stand-ups.
Yeah.
Stand-ups. Like I had one that I always remember alive. I had an Evil Dead 2 one, which was like, the mini ones? They're like a foot high or a foot and a half high.
Yeah, they'd be the counter ones on your drinks machine.
Yeah, and it said Evil Dead 2, and then it had, I can't remember quite what was in the middle, but it had a little action figure high Ash holding his boomstick. Yep. And the Evil Dead 2 skull with the eyes? It was that on both sides, like mirrored coming out both sides, and Ash on top.
Oh
and
my
god! And it said Evil Dead 2 like on the kind of base bit.
Yeah,
I fucking loved it. Like, and I had that, and I had like a stand up of Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yep.
Like the Freddy with the orange brand. You know, it was all orange,
yes.
that movie? Yeah, and that shit was like the fucking... Oh,
well, and that's all it is.
That's such gateway.
Oh, my God.
And I hadn't seen these films.
No.
I had them all over my bedroom as a kid, and like I hadn't got to the point where I could see them.
It doesn't matter, because it's right there. I think I like music as well. Like, there are certain aspects to listening and being introduced to new music sort of led you into, you know, for... I guess one of my best examples is Rob Zombie. Like, I'm a pretty big fan, and he's massive into horror films. So a lot of his imagery and his music videos.
So you follow like his genre vibe.
Yeah, so you
because he's got that grindhousey. Yeah,
you go down that path, and you start, and then obviously once you start meeting people who have like minds, and then it sort of, then all of a sudden VHSs start passed around. And you're like, you should check out this thing.
I didn't get I missed Grindhouse as a whole concept. Like I was never into it. Even when it came out, like, you know, the Grindhouse films that Quentin Tarantino did, like I hadn't seen any Grindhouse films before that. I was like, I didn't know what it was what it was referencing.
Yeah.
So I was like, because like Planet Terror to me just seemed like a monster film.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get this.
Yeah.
And I love this. But yeah, Death Proof, like I said, I didn't get it. I was like, but where's the horror? How is this a horror film? Like, it's just a man in a car. It's like Jewel. Remember that movie?
Yes,
the truck?
I do.
Just a fucking angry truck.
But that's where all that argument about what is horror, because, you know, you've got this subgenre, and it just becomes this huge timeline.
Horror's an umbrella, and underneath that are all the raindrops of the genres.
They're the raindrops. But I clearly like a certain type. I'm not quite sure what it is yet. It's definitely monsters and effects and gore. Comedy horror, I think I really like. Definitely. It's really hard to sort of pinpoint your favorite subgenre, because I mean, I love a slasher, but I also love a creature feature, and I love what I never really understood, because I wouldn't call it monster. It's now more considered eco horror. So
eco horror?
Eco horror.
Fuck off. So that's a shit name.
So your Jaws and your Lake Placids and your...
Oh, like in... I just call them big animal.
Yeah, so like your big... Like
giant.
Grizzly. Like, I'm so keen for this new Cocaine Grizzly movie that's coming out. Like, I cannot...
See, I don't like big... I think they're just big versions of animals.
Yeah, that's what I love. I love that.
And you're allowed to love that.
Exactly. So what are some films that you watched as a kid that kind of introduced you to the horror genre? Like, because there are just sort of scenes in films that...
I think my earliest ones that were like borderlining on the horror is the musical of Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
Rick Moranis, Steve Martin, the remake of the original Little Shop of Horrors. The animatronic, I looked this up recently. The animatronics in that plant, if you know what Little Shop of Horrors is, it's a musical.
Should check it out.
About with Rick Moranis and fucking Steve Martin and all this shit. And it's about an alien plant that comes down and it talks and sings and eats people.
It does.
And it's amazing. And it's just that was like, so it's horror. It had horror in the name, which attracted to me. And I weirdly got obsessed. I love the idea of man-eating plants. So that was like my thing. There's not many man-eating plant films.
No, there should be more.
There should be. So I really early got into the Triffids.
Yep.
Like the BBC show that they did.
Day of the Triffids.
As a real young kid, and they scared the shit out of me. The idea that the media came down and everyone went blind. Mm-hmm. So he's like just blind, and then these like fucking plants just slowly walk around and fuck you up because you're blind.
Yep.
You're blind.
It's insane.
So I got into the idea of liking carnivorous plants, and then like my local Granny May store, there was like a Venus flytrap money box that you put and it ate swallowed the coins. It was one of my most favorite possessions. It was through my love of mad eating plants as a kid. Then there was the Mario ones.
The piranha plant.
Yeah. But I just love that concept of these mouths on these plants that can eat people and that. And there's just not enough of that these days. Like, there isn't much. But, yeah, and I remember pre-ordering the cassette tape for the soundtrack. And it took 6 months to get to me from America. And I went down there and got it. And it had songs on it that weren't in the film.
Oh.
And it was like the... crazy, like, oh my god. And only recently I found out there was a different ending to that film. There's an alternate ending that popped up, like a long alternate ending.
Yep.
Where it pops up and he doesn't kill the plant and they take over the entire world.
Oh.
And it's a full filmed ending, and there's like news reports of like gigantic plants roaming through the cities, destroying mankind.
That's cool.
And they won.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Well, look, it's on YouTube, like the alternate ending, and it's all filmed and everything.
I might check that out. Well, I mean, because I watched one of my lockdown films was I watched Men in Black, and I hadn't seen Men in Black. It's not a film that I readily
The first
watch.
one is still the best.
It's fantastic. And when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, shit. So Rick Baker does all of the special effects and stuff. But if you look at the guy that's the giant bugs in him, and he comes in and it's wearing his skin. So his skin's all sort of floppy, and he's pulling his head back.
Come on, a car. What is it?
Sugar.
What is he? What is he? Isn't there saying he wants to hire a car or something?
Yeah, something along those lines. So he's, that in itself, I'm sitting there going, that would be terrifying, because I'm pretty certain like my brother was very young when he saw it at the cinema, and for a kid that must have been freaky. But that's like one of those nice little scenes in a standard film that's going to introduce you, because you're like, what? I love that. Yeah, where can I see more of that?
Yeah, those films that like they're the full like gateway things where it's not even a horror film.
No,
it's just one scene out of it. I got it from Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, when the dude pulls his heart out.
Yep.
And also Raiders of the Lost Ark when and when the Nazis melt.
Yep. See, mine
that was pure horror when you think about it.
Mine was Last Crusade. That was the first Indiana Jones film I ever saw, and is my favorite. And the scene where he drinks he
chooses poorly.
He chooses poorly, and his whole fucking face gets fucked up, and then he becomes like this very quick scene of he's like the crypt keeper, and then he's like this skeleton, and I'm like, that was the best.
Yeah, how many times I rewound that bloody Nazi melting and
face melting scene.
Oh man, but that didn't scare me. But like the Temple of Doom one scared me more. It was the idea that the heart opened up. He pulled out your heart, and then it sealed back up.
Yeah.
And you were still alive.
So you're sitting there going, someone could just pull out my heart at any given time? No. Even in the film Casper, like the 1996 film Casper, there is a scene where the ghosts are like haunting them, and he looks up and his face transforms and it starts screaming at him, very similar to the Poltergeist scene. And that in itself, like the film is not 100% fantastic. Like if you're a 10-year-old kid, it's probably great. But that scene, you're like, that shouldn't have been in, a G-rated film, but that was something that I was like, what is this? I like this.
Yeah, they knew what kids probably liked. I get the same thing from, there are textbook like gateway films that are purely made for it. Monster Squad. Mm-hmm. That's it's basically horror Goonies.
Yeah.
It's a horror film. It has dismemberment in it. It had more gore in it than last week's bloody film that we watched. Fucking Black Roses. Like that kids movie had more blood and gore in it. It had that is a gateway film, and the fact is it's based around a bunch of kids that are basically gatewaying into horror.
Yeah.
They got their monster squad, their club. They go and draw monsters and shit, and they're obsessed with it. Like, whew.
And it's all like Universal monsters, so they've not quite yet been introduced to actual horror.
Spider with human head.
Yeah, so this is all like the 1950s, 1960s kind of that sci-fi horror stuff that is ideal for kids.
Mummy, Wolfman.
Yeah, like I would show any one of my nieces or nephews Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they'd probably be like, can I watch it?
They'll be like, I am so fucking bored. Where's TikTok?
Pretty much, yeah.
Just be a TikTok of them bored watching it and you're getting paid out. Other ones that I thought were like and then what are the other obvious ones? Gremlins.
Straight out, Gremlins, yeah.
Gremlins, man.
What is that?
That movie, has anyone watched it recently? That is horror.
Yeah, because we watched it, I mean, I would say we watched it recently. It's probably like 50 episodes ago. But yeah, like the whole, the gremlins being shoved in.
The mum scene. The mum defending her house is like fucking textbook.
It's insane.
The bit where like she first comes out and he's eating one of the gremlins is eating a gingerbread man, and it's just like animatronic, like, and I'm like, oh my god, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And she makes a noise and it turns it around and it's like, it makes like a snarly like looking noise, and you're like, shit's gonna get real. And then there is like within that scene, there is like there's like a knife stabbing, there's a microwave exploding, there's a fucking head decapitation, there is so much shit in that scene, and I'm like, this is like it's clearly the best batch film, monster batch film, whatever they call them.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's really hard as well because like
and they melt.
Oh yeah, they melt.
They melt and they fucking come out of eggs and
explodings and all these.
They got green shit inside of them. They're so disposable, the gremlins.
Yeah,
because they're just like, there's more, so you can just smash them up.
I'm gonna do what I want
because they don't have red in them. But I thought it worked really well, them being green inside, and they have the red splats. Like even Gremlins 2, when the elevator goes down.
Oh
and it just goes,
yes.
And I'm like, fuck yeah. Everyone hates Gremlins 2, and I think it's one of the best films ever made.
Gremlins 2 is so much fun. I almost like it more than the first one. I said it.
For different reasons, though.
Yeah. Oh, definitely different reasons. I remember watching the Addams Family when I was a kid. So you know the 90s Addams Family.
Yeah, with
that's 100%.
Christina Ricci as Wednesday.
Hard crushing on her.
Doc Brown as Fester.
Uncle Fester, yeah. And Morticia Addams, like Angelica Houston, as her. Like,
is the first one the one where he comes in and makes out his Fester?
Yes.
That's it. That couldn't fly, that story with me. I'm like, the odds of someone making out there's someone because they look like them and then finding out they are that person.
Yeah.
I'm like, it didn't fly with me. I'm like, it's too outrageous. It's like the Wild Wild West film. You can't believe it.
Okay, so let me just have a second on our horror podcast, because I had never seen Wild Wild West, and this was one of the films that I was made to watch during lockdown. And I hated it. It was so stupid.
It's so out there that you can't believe it.
No, ridiculous film. Stupid film.
It's like that.
I stand by that.
What's that movie where the cities are like driving around?
Oh, the new one, the Peter Jackson one?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember. Mortal Engines or something.
Yeah. It's such an outside of reality concept.
Yeah.
That you can't enjoy the film because you're like, you see these cities turning real quickly and shit. I'm like, it couldn't do it. And they're like, oh yeah, it's got like centrifugal forces and blah 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 blah. It couldn't do it. Like, so to me, it was lost on me. I couldn't accept the concept. Therefore, I couldn't accept the film. No matter how good it looked or how interesting the story was or compelling, that core concept of the film was so dumb that I was just like, nah.
No, I never saw Mortal Engines, but I passionately hated Wild Wild West.
It's not very good.
It's just the West. But anyway, back to the Addams Family. I mean, look, the Addams Family is made for kids. It came out in 1990 something. So I would have seen it when I was 6 or 7. That whole concept, that plot line is not going to really factor into my brain hole that this is what's happened. All I'm thinking is, that girl's cute and creepy, and what is all of this weird stuff? Like, why do they look so different to everyone? And I like this.
I do like
this. Is for
Gomez
me.
Adams is sick.
Oh, he's suave as shit.
Like the idea that he's like nowadays he's like he became what cool rich people look like.
Very much so.
From the original Addams Family. Like he doesn't even look weird anymore.
No.
It's like people look like him.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They dress sharp,
but that's
black.
So they've recreated the Addams Family today for today's generation, using the very original comic book adaptation. So this is what they used to look like when the comic book first came out. But I really like that that's another generation of kids that are going to watch the Addams Family and just sort of go, oh, I really like this weird and kooky kind of family. Is
Hotel Transylvania a gateway horror?
I don't know.
Have you seen them?
I've
seen like 3 of them.
There's more than one? I've seen the first one. It wasn't bad. I didn't mind it.
That's Steve Buscemi, the disheveled werewolf, because he's got so many kids.
Oh, I love that. I might rewatch that. But do you remember the
Is it Adam Sandler's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you remember the 2006 film Monster House?
Yeah.
That was
great.
Legitimately a freaky film.
That was massively reminded me of a Clive Barker story called The Thief of Always, which was his... This was Clive Barker's children's book he wrote. It's a novel. It's not. Like, it's still a fucking horror. But it was about, basically you go to, I think it's called the Happy House or something like that. Mm-hmm. When you're like, or you're a kid and you're like just happy with your life, you get the opportunity to go to the Happy House, which takes you to this alternate reality. And when you go there, everything's wicked.
Yep.
Like, you go into the house, like, everything you want as a kid, you do whatever you want, you get everything you want, you can eat whatever you want. But what it's doing is, like, for every, like, time works differently at the Happy House. So when you're there, like, for a day, a year has gone past in the real world, and the house eats that time.
Yeah, wow.
It lives off of that time, so it steals time from you. But at the end, it has, like, the house, like, they fucking try to leave, and the house goes, and it starts, like, and it does the thing from Monster House. Like, It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I even think Monster House had a weird theme like that.
Yeah,
that, like,
Monster House was, it's been, I saw it at the cinema, and I don't think I've seen it since, but it's definitely one of those films that kind of stick with you in somewhere in your brain, because I still to this day go, yeah, Monster House was, like, freaky as hell, and that's not, I wouldn't have really put that in the this is appropriate for kids category.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's cool,
like,
though.
It's kind of borderline.
It's a gateway.
Definitely
into the real horrors.
100% a gateway. I mean, Return to Oz.
Yeah, fuck that film.
Fucking Return to Oz. The Wheelies.
The Wheelers.
No.
That's it. That's it. The Wheelers.
That's what it is. No, fuck that shit. Fuck that noise.
Do you remember that, or even worse, you remember that fucking The Wiz?
That Michael Jackson. I've never seen that. And
that shit's rough.
I do not plan to watch that.
You should. That's a horror.
No.
But bringing it up now, because I know a lot of this is going to be relevant to our age groups, and I think all of our listeners are our age group.
Yep.
Around, at least between both of us. I'm the older, you're the slightly younger.
Yep.
A lot of us, we grew up with a thing that not people don't grow up with now, is that the modified TV versions of horror films. So as a young kid, you could access some films that would have been out of your reach because they've been modified.
Yep.
So you would get the core concept of the film, maybe with the blood and the swearing cut out of it. So we got to watch films like Aliens and The Thing when we were way younger.
Yep.
But all the shit was taken out of it. But you still got that love for the monster and the core concept of the film, but with these modified versions. And it was only like Claire just goes, no, they still make modified versions of stuff. I'm like, they don't. Like, that shit stopped years ago. Because they started putting R-rated movies on just later on at night.
Yeah.
And then, but we when I was in primary school, there were modified versions of things. And then eventually when you got a bit older, you got to see the normal version, and you knew the exact time that it had changed.
Yeah.
Because you had watched those modified versions so much. You got those extended, especially Hellraiser.
Yep.
Hellraiser was heavily modified on television. That's obviously where I first had it, because we taped all of our horror movies off of television.
Yeah.
Had taken out the ads, pausing it between the ads and shit. And just, so getting this, that's almost like a weird gateway into it, that you got these, like, it's just a weird concept when you think of it. Imagine, like, every film came out with a modified version that everyone could watch.
And
like Hereditary.
Not you can't modify.
But if Hereditary was on TV,
yeah,
it would just cut out that headshot.
Yeah.
And that's all they'd cut out.
Pretty much.
Because there's not actually any horror in it.
No. It's all very psychological.
Yeah.
Hereditary.
Horror was back then, to the classification board, was this blood, gore.
Yeah.
Adult themes didn't come till later.
Oh, I remember. This film is rated AO.
For adults only.
Yes. Oh, back in the day. But that's how I think, for like our generation, we discovered many things, because I mean, just off the SBS late at night, that's how you would find a lot of weird Japanese films or
just anime.
Anime, like
manga,
your Akira.
Manga. So manga studios. Manga was not the book genre back in the day. It was a company called Manga. So that's why a lot of people call animes mangas.
Yeah.
Where they're not theoretically wrong. They're just people that grew up in the 90s, because the company was called Manga. So they're saying manga films.
Yeah.
And so all these well, actuallys. Manga is the book. It's like, well, actually, it was, I'm going to be it now. It was a company called Manga which bought over the thing. So theoretically, you're both right.
Yeah.
So shut your dick hole.
But that's where you get stuff like your
fuckhead.
Demon City Shinjuku, Your Wicked Cities.
Ninja Scroll. Demon City. Oh, no. You're thinking of Wicked City, and then there's Demon City Shinjuku.
Yeah, because they just recently were released as a double pack.
Oh, really? They have nothing to do with each other.
No. It's a strange concept. I think it's probably the same company or something. But that's how you were introduced to that kind of stuff. Like, you were introduced to anime at that time. You were introduced to sexy porn at that time.
What was the thing where...
Foreign films.
Australian adults were still convinced that cartoons were for kids.
Yes.
So you always got that opportunity where... I mean, Akira, I didn't understand as a kid.
No.
I watched it heavily medicated from, like, kidney diseases and shit.
No.
And the bits where Tetsuya falls down, he thinks his guts is falling out, and he's trying to scrape it back into his body. That really affected me. It really didn't work well with how I was thinking at those times.
Oh, no.
And I remember that. And the bit where he's kind of freaking out, I don't know if you remember it, and there's like this weird effect like going towards his head and shit. And it's just like, I'd had freakouts like that.
You don't know. That's terrible. No. Ghostbusters is another fantastic one that we've both...
Saw it in the drive-in.
Oh, I've never been to the drive-in.
The lady... What?
To this day, I have never... What? I have never been to a drive-in.
How? I've been to a drive-in just recently.
I don't know.
I watched The Force Awakens what was the other one? The last one where they...
I don't know.
Kylo Ren. The last one in the Star Wars. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I watched that in the drive-in with Claire because they do it... They will bring him all. It's so good.
Yeah.
The drive-in's right. It's like a whole experience because the one we've got in Adelaide has like a fucking old school malt bar candy bar at the back. You can get dinner and hot dogs and shit.
See, the whole concept is just... I love it, but I've just never been.
Weird.
I don't know why.
Well, it's such a cool thing we used to do when we were younger. You used to go with a whole group of people. You back the cars up, like the panel vans. Because you go there and the Sandman, the Adelaide Sandman organisation is always there with all their painted up cars and shit there.
Oh, okay.
And you used to, like, on the hot summer nights, you'd get out, sit on a deck chair. Everyone would have their sweet stereos up super loud playing the sound. So it was just like, it's chill out. Drink beers. You're allowed to take beers in there.
Well, if they need to do some horror, because I don't want my first experience at the drive-in to be like some weird normal film.
You want your first experience at the drive-in to be a film you've seen, because sometimes it doesn't work out the screens.
Sure.
Like, if it's a dark film,
yeah,
it's real hard to see anything.
I love that. That's fair. But Ghostbusters, yes. So
I hid... The library lady came out.
Yeah.
I hid
for
half the film until I got brave enough to come back out.
I like that. I remember being... I never had a problem with anything that we ever wanted to watch, but when we were like, oh, let's just check on Ghostbusters for the kids, they're like, I don't think you guys are old enough for it, so you have to go outside and play.
That's like my mate, Treaders. He went to the drive-in when he was younger, and it was a double feature.
Yeah.
And the first feature their parents decided was too scary for them, so they made him and his sister just lay down in the back of the car, and he just heard Temple of Doom, like just listened to it for a whole film, like, and then he got to sit up and watch the second one.
Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. Well, we were having a conversation when we had our weekly lunch the other day. We were talking about the board game Nightmare.
Yeah. So, do you remember that?
I remember, so funny fucking synchronicity bullshit happened this week. So you and I had talked about it on Thursday.
First we'll talk about Nightmare.
Yeah.
So Nightmare is a board game from the 80s, 90s? Early 90s?
I'd say like early 90s.
Early 90s. It's a VHS board game where you put a VHS on. It has a timer on it. You get to play for exactly 1 hour. And you are battling the guy on the TV called...
The Gatekeeper.
He comes up starts in the thing, and whatever happens, you have to like stop what you're doing. And if he comes on and he says like, I can't remember what it is, you have to say, yes, my gatekeeper.
Yeah.
So you have to say shit that's like quite embarrassing to play. Otherwise, and he's like, who didn't say yes, my gatekeeper? And like he tries to pit you off against each other. It's a really cool concept. Yeah. And you're trying to get around the board and you're trying to stop him. And as like the timer's going down, more shit happens. Like, it gets getting faster, heartbeats are coming in. And usually the game's really well timed that it will end up in those last minutes that you beat him. Or you don't beat him.
Yeah.
And you all lose.
Yeah.
And the gatekeeper wins.
Yeah.
And he gets more haggard as it goes through. It's just such a cool fucking
It's a great concept. And I showed the trailer for it to Liz yesterday. And she was just like, this guy looks like he's having the best time of his life doing this gatekeeper thing. It's like it's his claim to fame. But that was one of those board games that I always wanted and I never had. It was never purchased for me. Like, it was never a gift or anything like that. But it was just so interesting to me, this concept that you could play a game
against the TV.
With the TV.
Well, we played it so much, so it kind of, you start to learn at what points shit's about to happen and shit, so you can get ready for it. And like, because it comes on real loud and it tries to scare you as well. Yeah. You're supposed to play it in dim. It says like, it's got this real atmospheric opening. It's like, turn down the lights and the TV up. And it's just fucking cool. And it's horror. And it's wicked. I played it at like my friend's house, and he had a real younger brother.
Yep.
So like, I don't know how old kids are. Like, it was like
he was
3 or 4.
High.
He was talking. He was walking around and like sub talking, and he came in and just saw this dude on the fucking TV having a go at us, and he freaked.
Oh god.
The TV, man. We had to stop playing it. He thought there was a man talking to us, and I'm like, oh man. And I remember thinking to myself, this is the power of horror. This is like your imagination taking you away. But yeah, they did one later on called Atmosphere or something like that. I never saw that one. But I had the add-ons. I think I still may have them, of Zombie, Saramban, what's his name? Saramban. What's that real famous like voodoo zombie? Oh my god, I forgot his name.
I don't even know.
And the witch as well, the witch one.
Okay.
Oh my god, I can't remember his name.
You'll think about it.
I'll remember it later.
Well, it was really funny because like we had talked about this, and then yesterday I get home from work and Liz, she was out thrift shopping, and she came home. She's like, I saw this, and I thought of you, and I picked it up and I had a look, and then I looked at the back and I'm like, definitely for Jen, $2 at the op shop, and she hands me Nightmare.
So good.
So good. So now I have Nightmare, and we are going to...
Is it all in there?
I'll have to check.
Is the tape in there?
The tape is in there.
I think you can. The whole tape is on YouTube.
It is on YouTube, yeah, because I showed it.
Probably all on YouTube.
More than likely, but yeah. So we're gonna have to have a night and play some Nightmare.
Yeah, it's so good.
So keen.
What was your first R-rated film you saw? Can you remember? Did you write that down? You haven't.
My first R-rated film I saw at the cinema.
And how old were you?
So we're talking like R-rated?
R-rated film, your first one.
The first one that I remember seeing, and it's not even a horror film, it was Basic Instinct.
Oh, is it R-rated?
It is R-rated because it's full of sex. Sex. So this is the film that I was...
So your gateway R-rated was a fucking sexy film about a girl... Is that the one with the ice pick one?
Yes.
And the beaver shot?
Yes.
From Hot Shots or whatever it was, when it just turns into a beaver?
I was 7 or 8, and it was just something that I'd gotten out of bed and I wasn't feeling heaps good, so Mum's just like, oh, just sit on the couch. And it was one of those films where I don't know what's going on the TV, and it's on, so I'm an 8-year-old watching this weird Basic Instinct film with my mum there, and it was strange.
I remember like staying at my mate's house, because maybe used to stay over. That was wicked. And sneaking out, and because we knew that like the adults were watching a horror, and we'd sneak out and hide behind the couches and look around.
We've done that. The first R-rated film I ever saw in the cinema, and I was, I don't remember. I was not 18 at this time, but I went and saw Hannibal.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, so that
that's so mine. My mate rings me. This is in year 7, so I don't know how old you are in year 7.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like the last year of primary school. And he rings over, and his opening line was, "Do you like R-rated movies?" And I'm like, hell yeah, I do. None of us had seen one.
Yeah.
And his parents had left. This is one of those rich kids, and his parents used to just leave him.
Yep.
You know those kids, their parents, really irresponsible parents. They were like drinkers, partiers, like those 1980s like Coke parties and shit. Mm-hmm. And they just like really gave their kids too much leeway. And you know, the older brother turns into the bad kid.
Yeah.
He's like fully into like weed and like, but not like a stoner, you know, in the 1980s, early 90s bad kid.
It's the negative connotations.
Like mullets and fucking, and what are those fucking cars that start with C? Cortinas. Shit like that.
Yeah.
Those dudes, they wear flanny druggy shirts, and they're into like, you know, dodgy shit. And as a young kid, you're like, Anyhow, he had one of those brothers. And also, so They left Evil Dead.
Oh.
So we watched, that was the first horror movie I saw in year 7 was Evil Dead. And it's fucking the monster of horror films.
100%. Well, Halloween
I remember getting used
R-rated.
to it though halfway through. We were shit scared at the start.
Yeah.
But as it went through, I remember I think it's not as bad as I thought. But it still was. I reckon I was pretty glitched by it, eh?
Yeah.
Like,
I'd
seeing
say
those milk coming out of them.
something's happened. Well, I remember, because Halloween, the 1978 one, is R-rated, and still to this day, I think they've not reclassified it. So it's still R-rated. And I remember, and I was still young. I would have been like 9 or 10. And I really wanted to watch it. And because I really liked the cover and stuff. And I'd gone in. I'm like, Mum, please let me watch this. And the guy at the movie store, he's just like, look, it's really not that bad. It's just like, it shouldn't be classified this today. Like today it could probably be an M. And Mum's like, yeah, whatever. So then I think the first R-rated film I ever hired was probably like Halloween, because Mum was just like, yeah, it's fine.
I reckon that's why I didn't like a lot of the slasher stuff. Because my first introduction of the real horror was Evil Dead.
Well,
which
you're starting at the top.
It's so jam-packed with effects and gore and full-on shit, and it's got actual, like, you see axes hit limbs. You know what I mean? It's not just cutaway horror or anything. And the second one had more cutaway horror in it. But, like, it's all there. And, like, so then there was stuff like Halloween. It fully didn't interest me. It was just a man walking around with a knife.
Yeah.
So I skipped a lot of that shit until later on in my life. Like, even to the point today, I haven't seen heaps of the Halloween films because I was just like, why would I?
Yeah, that's fair.
But, yeah. And so I've got this massive bar and you can see that all the films I like are all stemmed from that moment of me watching that R-rated film, because all my things revolve around like the gore effects. They revolve around like seeing limbs come off. It's about like demon transformations and shit like that. The fucking milk out of the mouth, the pus out of the mouth, the shine of the glit of the goo was all Evil Dead to me. Like. Yeah. The concepts of like the pure evil and the monsters, they weren't humans. They were humans contorted. That's all my shit. That's my jam. And that's all now I realise in saying this, because of that first R-rated movie was the bar I hit. Where yours was like Halloween. It makes sense that you love Halloween now so much. Yeah. Weird.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you just started real fucking high. There's nowhere for you to go from here. You're just
it's true. Do you know what? I don't reckon it's ever... Like, Brain Dead is the closest I've got to beating that feeling, and some other ones. Like, but there's not many films that I still figure as like, fucking, that's me. You know what I mean? This is what I want. This is all the cool shit. Brain Dead is definitely one of them, though.
Yeah.
But even Brain Dead has like some like real boring scenes at the start.
Yeah.
So
well, I remember, like, I don't even, because I was trying really hard to think, like, what the very first horror film I ever saw was. And I struggled so hard to, like, I know I've seen so many over the years and I started watching them way too young. I just don't remember, but I do have strong memories of A Nightmare on Elm Street. So my brother had hired it, and I remember he'd come home with it, and I wasn't allowed to watch it because it was too scary and I was too young, blah, 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 blah. And then I saw the back of the VHS, and it was the corpse with the centipede coming out of the mouth.
Which doesn't really happen, does it?
No.
Yeah.
Not that I can remember. And I just remember that I was, like, talking to my brother from the doorway to his bedroom while he was watching it. And then all of a sudden I was in the bedroom.
Uh-oh.
And then I was on the bed watching it with him. And then my mum came in.
Which one was this?
This is the very first one.
Yeah. I didn't see that till way later.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
So I would have been pretty damn young when I saw that for the very first time. But that one is the one that kind of screams out, like, this is probably the first horror film that you've ever seen.
I do remember, like, I used to tape horrors and still be scared of them, even though they were modified versions. But what I used to do is just get them, right? Fast forward them, stop, play at a random point, and then just... what's going to be on the screen, like try like just to get random moments.
Sure.
And I'd always have to do it in the daytime before school.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the times I did that was Nightmare on Elm Street 1, and it was the bit where Freddy pulls his head open. He goes, you got the body and I got the brains.
Yeah.
And that was my point of Nightmare on Elm Street, that it stopped on and it had that exact moment. So I turned it straight off and thought, this is clearly the scariest movie of all time. And it was actually, that's probably the worst bit, one of the worst bits. And,
yeah. Oh, Siri talking to you again?
But I remember that was like a funny moment in my life of like, You know,
it's so strange. And it just sort of goes to show how we are as people nowadays because of it. It's very interesting.
I don't know what kids are like with horror these days. I don't even know if horror is a thing that kids like anymore.
This is the problem. Like,
It's a problem, is it?
It's not a problem. So the genre has changed and evolved so much. And what we were watching as kids and what we were allowed to watch as kids is completely different and considered highly inappropriate for kids nowadays. But I don't know, like selling some horror stuff at some toy fairs, I get a lot of kids coming up asking for horror stuff.
For classic horror.
And it's always, a lot of it's It. They all want It stuff. It's all about Pennywise.
It was the one that came out recently.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's the only thing they've got to latch onto. Don't get me wrong, that movie was fucking sick, those two films.
I
count them as,
loved
also, it was, I didn't like the second one, mate. They're one film.
It is one film.
It's just one real long film. Like, you don't break it up. I love it. I love it. It was just, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of CG, but like they did it okay. But fuck that film, man. Like,
so good. But this, I feel that It is probably the gateway horror for most kids nowadays. And that's a pretty big...
It's not even a gateway horror. It's just a flat-out horror.
It is a flat-out horror film, but this is the gateway. This is the film that these kids are watching and introducing themselves to then go off and go, oh, I want to see other stuff.
I always find it weird that I have parents come in with their quite young kids. So you're looking at like primary school age kids, and their kids have all... And the parents just like go, oh, it doesn't matter. I go, are you sure this is okay for them? And like, it's fine, he's watched all of Walking Dead. I'm like, why would you let your kid watch Walking Dead? Not only is that... Not, like, it's like... The horror of that thing is like the psychological horror of how horrible people are. Mm-hmm. It's gore porn. Yeah. It's like they're going, nah, he's watched... It's fine, I'll just pop on Hostel for my kids and shit like that. And I'm like, it's basically what you're doing. Like,
don't do that.
It's actually like bad parenting. I'm going to say that. Like, if you've shown your very young kid The Walking Dead and let them watch the whole season, actually, Stranger Things is a gateway for young kids now because
it definitely
kids love Stranger Things, and that is definitely the modern day gateway because that is textbook.
Yeah,
like introducing them to every
genre really
of our horror.
Yeah, very much so.
Because there's not much comedy horror anymore. Not much in the cinema.
No.
Name a good comedy horror that's come out in the last 10 years. I mean, you probably could, but I can't.
Probably could.
Yeah, it's a on the spot. Where if you say name a good horror comedy that came out in the 80s, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'll just a fucking 1,000.
Evil Dead 2. Woo.
Oh man, just all of them. All the Return of the Living Deads and shit. They were classically funny.
But so I think Stranger Things is definitely one of them because you've got kids. I wouldn't put any. There's no.
I think that saved horror. I think that brought it to a new generation. I don't know if you don't like Stranger Things. I can't see why you wouldn't. Like it's just, it's like a mixture of like it's got the energy of Goonies.
It's got something for everyone.
Yeah, it's got the energy of Goonies. It's got it's got the monsters of like Critters and Gremlins. It's got like the concepts of It and stuff in it. Like it's got it all in there, and it was aimed nearly at young kids. Like there's not much in there, and kids love it. Yeah, there are kids comics of Stranger Things. Yes. So like there are adult comics of Stranger Things, but there are specifically kids graphic novels for Stranger Things characters because they're like.
Well, you walk into Big W and all that, and they've got Stranger Things stuff for the kids in the kids section. So, you can put your little baby in a Stranger Things onesie. That's cute. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, the flower faces. Well, the demigorgons.
The demigorgons.
Flower face.
Yeah.
But I've lost track of what I was talking about.
We were talking about...
first R-rated. Yeah, that's right.
We're talking about gateway horrors for today.
Yeah, what have the kids got? Monster House.
Yeah, that.
I think Stranger Things is the ultimate one.
Yeah.
If I had Stranger Things when I was in year 7, it would have been the best thing of my entire life. There's no. I see why kids. Every second kid comes into my shop wearing a Stranger Things t-shirt, and they're like, they love Stranger Things. Their parents, and I'm like, it's because it's wicked. Mm-hmm. It's exactly what a kid should be watching.
It's so good. So we sat down. I remember sitting down to watch it. We're like, okay, everyone's talking about this new show, Stranger Things. Sure, all right, I'll give it a go. We're like, we'll just sit down and watch an episode. And 10 episodes later,
you're like,
it's done. That was fantastic. Give me more. Mm-hmm. And then we'll keep it excited.
I mean, each season went on. It genre a different thing kind of thing. So people were like, I didn't like it. It wasn't like the first season. It's because it's doing something. It's doing another whole
different
genre of horror. Like it's doing the the alien sci-fi or whatever, or it's doing this and that, or it's doing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it does that whole, and on top of that, it puts its own little spin on everything. So I'm like, it's fine. It's perfect. It's a great, fun show. I don't know. There must be people out there who don't like it.
Well, they're stupid.
Oh,
I'm just... No, you like what you
like.
like.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not collecting any Stranger Things action figures.
No.
I haven't got a poster on my wall, but like, if you're a young kid, you definitely should.
Yeah.
That shit's
Oh, you would
fucking
100%
cool.
have a poster on the wall. Like, I've got the soundtracks, because soundtracks...
Oh, it's definitely, but yeah, that was like a direct homage to
Yeah.
that fucking sick 80s synth.
Synthwave.
Oh man, don't get me started.
That's so good.
I had a customer, you know, I've got that Carpenter Brute or Brut,
Yes.
whatever it's called. I don't know how you
Yes.
say that. I had a customer come in the other day, goes, "Is this Carpenter Brute?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how did you know that?" And he goes, "I'm fully into synthwave horror." And I'm like, "Yeah, but how did you even know that? Like, you know what I mean? How did you even recognize?"
Yeah.
Because I love all that shit. I wouldn't recognize them
No.
individually.
I couldn't walk in and be like, "Oh, this is John Carpenter's Lost Themes, track 7, 52 seconds in."
Audio Blood, he'd notice it.
Oh, he
check
fucking
out
would.
Audio Blood podcast. He goes over. He's a Adelaide guy now that lives in Denmark.
He's somewhere in another country.
He's in.
And he keeps buying all these freaking sweet as shit records, and it makes me super jealous.
Oh, it's because he has access to all the Swede stuff.
Exactly. It pisses me off. But yeah, so I would like to know what y'all think about gateway horrors. I definitely want to hear what audiences have as their gateway horrors. We'll probably open it up to Facebook and stuff like that, just to get some interactions.
Wow. This discussion went the whole podcast.
That's fantastic. We could definitely cut it off there then. Let us know.
Over on the things. Oh, I'm supposed to do the thing, aren't I?
Oh, I can do the thing if you like.
No, I should do the housekeeping. I forgot that I do the housekeeping
That's
in this
fine.
one. You've been listening to TerrorVision Horror Podcast, Splatter Chatter with Dan and Jennifer. We are available on all major podcasting services and also on the YouTube. But no matter where you choose to consume us, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, follow, whatever. Do it on your things. I always find the people who love us on YouTube is really weird. Listening to podcasts on YouTube, I find that strange. It's not a thing because it doesn't keep it all together. I like the podcasting apps where it keeps it all, you know, here's your next episode, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. Do it however you want.
You.
You do you. We've got you. We've got it there for you. So, yeah, you can stroke whatever you want. Subscribe, leave a comment or a review. Reviews help us out heaps, guys. If you want to leave a review, even if it's a star one, I don't know, just comment. Just say, "Hey, guys, I thought I like the cut of your jib."
Yeah.
Do that. And share it with your friends. Definitely do that. If you've got any horror like-minded dickheads out there, smash it onto their social media and go, "Hey, fuckface, look at this." You can interact with us both on Facebook and Instagram. That's all we've done. We haven't done TikTok or any of that other bullshit.
No, not doing TikTok.
I mean, it's the next platform, but yeah, it's not really viable for us. I mean, it could be, but who gives a shit?
No.
Check us out on Instagram at TerrorVision Pod. You know, and stuff like that. We get an email, terrorvisionpod@gmail.com. You want to send us, you know, I don't know. What do people put in emails?
I don't know.
Attachments?
Send us an attachment. I don't care.
With the Trojan virus in it.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
And, you know, that's it.
Yeah, great.
Do you have a sign-off?
I do. I don't. Until next week, may all your dreams be dreams.
Oh.